And it looks like on a chart, we've broken, below the 5-day moving average, below the 20-day moving average, probably now below the 50-day moving average just over the last few days. It's been a pretty serious plunge. So it appears that we're on the brink of some serious trend changes. And that'll be a matter, can gold hang in for a while, or maybe gold still has one last up move while the financial markets roll over.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, we are a little more than midway through November. Man, gold and silver have been doing amazingly well, near record highs. They were at record highs. They got beat back a little bit, but now they're climbing back. And it occurred to me we hadn't talked with this gentleman in quite a while. I'm talking about Dudley Baker. And Dudley, it's great to have you back on the show, of course, always. And hey, you're Mr. Warrant, common stock warrants.com. And what's doing with the warrants market now? What's doing with these little micro caps? Any progress here?
Yeah, good to be with you, Kerry. Yeah, it has been a while. Well, as you said, gold is near the high, so we may be off 10% or so. No biggie. It's always a question what's next, what comes next, and it's all about what are those opportunities? How do we participate? So, yeah, a lot of what I personally follow is a lot of the small companies, the small miners that may or may not have stock warrants that are trading, but a lot of in the marketplace today, a lot of the small companies have barely budged. We've had some nice movements from the Equinox Gold, from the Eris Gold, of course First Majestic, and some of the bigger boys, obviously the Franco Nevadas and etc. But this is not substantially trickled down to the small players, and that's kind of my game, and I love that. So it's always. That game, it will come down to us, and we still have time to accumulate some positions down in this arena. And a lot of mine can be down in the penny range. And, so we know they're not going to be the first performers. But, the question now I think that all of us have on our minds is what will happen with gold and silver being the leaders of this whole situation. And so we're off probably 10%. We're still sitting real close to the 4,000. We got silver back off a little bit, but still above 50. So net, if you're just looking at the price of the metals, you're thinking, God, we should all be filthy rich by now. You think back 5 to 10 years ago, and God, we couldn't even imagine prices for gold and silver where they sit today. This was our fantasy land, and thought, man, we would all be filthy rich when we got up here, but we're not. So I think the major speculative phase is still to come. And some of the other players that I do follow in the business, kind of have a similar visual of maybe what took place back in 2007, 2008, that when the financial markets rolled over, which I don't know if you can see. I wore a red sweater here this morning because we were down pretty hard earlier this morning, like we're moderating and coming back. So the deal is the caution flag is out right now as to will the financial markets be rolling over? It looks like we could be set up for a trend change, and if so, what will happen with gold and silver? But back in that 2007, 2008, gold ended up going down pretty hard as well in that decline. But yet gold was one of the first players to come out of that decline. And that's when these little small companies really started performing. So I've got others in the business that I follow that think this may be a similar situation. And so it's a matter of being patient and letting this play out and be confident and comfortable about, what your portfolio is. What do you own? Why do you own it? If you're looking at stock warrants, you want to make sure that you probably got a minimum of 2 years of remaining life on those warrants, and all that good stuff. So we got a lot of interesting situations that are in our databases, and probably a lot of your followers are probably maybe substantially in the mining space, but yet there's all kind of industries and sectors and as we speak here today, we're sitting with somewhere between 750 to 800 companies that have stock or trading and in our databases. So, the word SPACs, SPAC, that's the purpose acquisition companies. Some of those are coming back to life again. And so we track all the details on the SPACs as well. And so we got all the mining, got a lot of cool stuff. The way I like to phrase our database to our subscribers or future subscribers is what we present you is a lot of information on all of the companies that have these warrants that are trading, and there's so many. You can imagine there's no way in the world I can have a handle on this whole database of information. We kind of got it broken down where if you were looking for the companies in the mining space, we've got a tab for just precious metals warrants, which was the name of the previous service that I had. And but we can get you honed in more specifically. We've got some warrants that are actually trading in the AI space. And again, I'm not familiar with all these companies. There was there was a couple within the crypto space. And so it's a matter, I always suggest to people when they first sign up with us, look at the list of companies. And do you recognize any of the names of those companies? Is there something that maybe you already own that you don't know that they even have a stock warrant that's trading? A lot of other guys in the business, they can recommend the companies, but have no knowledge whether there's a warrant trading or not. And then it'll be a matter, well, how much time is left on that warrant until expiration? And what is the exercise price? Is it even worthy of my consideration? But data, information, and it's all about having a ton of potential opportunities at your fingertips. So, if you got a sec, I'll go through a couple of examples real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Just to showcase, because to me, when you start talking about stock warrants, it is, what are the opportunities? So why would I want to buy the warrant instead of the common shares? Now, there's 3 examples. I just did an article for put out in the universe a couple of weeks ago, and I showcased these 3 situations with charts. But one was actually it's Cipher, CIPHER mining, Cipher mining, CIFR, and then put a W on the end for the warrants.
Right.
I'm taking you back only to April of this year. That warrant traded as low as 0.1637, so roughly 16.5 cents. At the end of October, it was at $11.93.
Wow.
I don't know about you, but that's one hell of a move. That's just shy of...
It's good to me.
Yeah, just shy of 4,200% in months. Staggering opportunity. And believe me, when I did this article, I'm thinking to myself, where was I at? How did I this. Yeah, but that's the thing is that another person looking at our database, another subscriber, may have instantly have honed in on this because this is in, when we say mining, this is in the blockchain arena, is this company. So that could have really been the hot button for somebody. But again, 4,200%, unbelievable. There's another company, USA Rare Earth. And you think rare earths have been so much in the news the last X number of months. And this company had previously been a SPAC, but took over a rare earth company. And this warrant also in April traded as low as 65 cents on the NASDAQ. And the end of October was at $32.49.
My God.
Just shy of 5,000%. And again, you think, how did you miss it? Now, there has been major pullback in a lot of the rare earths, as we know here recently. And a lot of that gain was given back. But in real time, had you been looking at our database and seen U.S. rare earth, that may have been your hot button, and you could have rode that puppy for one hell of a gain. The other company that's been around for a while that is also a SPAC that I kind of showcased called the mining company, TMC WW is the warrant. And that one was actually they're mining for basically the rare minerals or metals under the ocean floor. And this baby last December, so we're still less than a year ago, was at a nickel, 0.05. End of October, $3.84 was the high for this year. It's up 7,400%. I just leave you with that thought. Those are three incredible examples that I missed myself, but they were opportunities that were in our database and could have been easily bought. There's a lot of liquidity on these babies, especially with these three examples here that were trading on the NASDAQ. Sometimes when you do get down to the smaller stocks of the smaller companies that have warrants trading, you may find that there's some liquidity issues. And I've never had a difficulty in buying whatever I wanted through the years, but yet I'm aware that could be the situation. But normally this is especially those that you find that maybe on the New York or the NASDAQ, even in the mining space, there will be a lot of liquidity there, so you don't have a problem buying or selling these situations. But
yeah, that's the thing. How do you buy them? Is it just like buying a stock?
It's just like buying a stock, and that's the big difference. I always say the definition of a stock warrant is very, very similar to a stock option. It in this case where a stock warrant is a security giving the holder the right to buy the underlying stock at a specific price, it may expiring on a specific date. But it is a security. It will have a symbol. It will be traded New York, NASDAQ, TSX, or the venture exchange. But it will be trading very, very similar to the stock as opposed to the options. So for the most part, if you got a stock warrant, you don't have to decide, well, what do I want the strike price to be? How long? Yeah, when you come to options, maybe you know the company, but now you've got a whole, you got to decide. So how much time do I want to look for the performance? How many months do I want? Am I looking for a 3-month call option, a 6 months, a year? At what strike price? You've got a lot of decisions to make. If you're fortunate that you can find a stock warrant that you like, normally a company would only have one warrant trading at a time. We do have a few that have got multiple warrants trading, And if so, if you find a company like that, normally you're going to want to own the most recently issued warrant. So that will probably be the best price and will probably give you the longest time factor to go with that. But a lot less, I want to say it's simpler in my mind than buying options if you can find what you like here. So again, I just say opportunities. It gives investors opportunities that you may not even be aware of if you're not familiar with what stock warrants are. And I love to go back. I think we're looking at basically AT&T probably had the first stock warrants traded roughly 100 years ago, and it's so there's a lot of history. This is nothing new that Dudley Baker just put together. So it's they've been around for a long time and they've gone quiet for a long time. And I think because the way I put it back in early 1980, the stock options became a really big deal. Chicago Board of Option Exchange and basically sucked all the oxygen out of the room for stock warrants. And so even though they've always been there, but the marketing, people talking about them, etc., really went really quiet. And it's almost like a big we don't want anybody else to know situation. But anyhow, so it was a massive amount of work, as you can imagine, putting together and even maintaining these databases that we've got to stay on top of all this. But another way I would phrase with stock warrants is that we know our friend Rick Rule well in the mining space, so we would know Rick Rule would never do a private placement in the mining space if there were not stock warrants attached.
Right.
In the United States, I mean, in the U.S. markets, I pretty much assure you that Warren Buffett never did one of his deals, and he did many, with Bank of America and with others. I mean, lots and lots of money, that he's never done a deal without stock warrants attached, part of the deal, because guys are aware of the leverage, the big potential gains that could be made off of these warrants. And even though they're in a private placement, it all works the same. And unfortunately, a lot of times you and I are not going to be given the right maybe to participate in a private placement. Definitely not with Bank of America. Now, when it gets to the mining space, yes, maybe we will have that opportunity. And I always say if we as an investor have the opportunity to participate in a private placement, there's warrants attached, you definitely need to think about that. And that's probably the best entry price. But for the most part, most of us, if it's a trading warrant, we can almost get in at the same price or maybe even less sometimes as those if you were in a private placement. So it's a secondary way to play the stock warrants. So through the years, I've participated in quite a few private placements. Some work out, some don't work out, and it's just nobody's got the Holy Grail there. But I always have some stock warrants in my portfolio, and I guess that begs the question. I mean, you don't say, Dudley, man, that sounds really interesting. I'm going to go all in with stock warrants. No. Please don't do that. That's not what you want to do. It's maybe 5%, maybe 10% at the very most of your portfolio. Just like saying, if I ask you, stock options, you would never put 100% of your portfolio in stock options on any given company. So it's just a piece of your portfolio that's going to be allocated to some really interesting situations and hopefully give you a lot more leverage possibilities and to capture more gains down the line. So it's never a all in or none or above or all in. It's trying to find a balance for you personally. There's been times that I probably had a good 20 to 25% of my portfolio in warrants. And right now it's a really small percentage just due to, there's not as many warrants in the mining space as I would personally like.
Sure.
But this can change at any time. That as soon as we conclude here, I can read an article that XYZ Gold is just coming out with a new stock offering that with warrants attached. And so we can be adding warrants to our database at all the times. And to make it easy as well for our subscribers, on one of our lead pages after you've logged in, we have a link for the latest warrants added, so that regardless of what industry or sector that those warrants will be in. But that way you don't have to go through 700 companies all over again looking for, what are the new ones? No, we've got this list right in front of you. And to really make it a simple search vehicle. So, my son's kind of my computer guy, and he's done a great job of organizing all this stuff and trying to make it as user-friendly as possible. And again, with our information, if you're a guy that, say, likes to follow volume, you can sort on volume and figure out what has got the most volume, where's the liquidity, looking for volume breakouts or however you would like to approach these markets. As well as you can search on exercise price. What is the longest stock warrant that's trading? And, but more so you're looking for, I always round it off to 2 years. In a perfect world, the warrant that you own is to start out with at least 2 years of remaining life. It's amazing, as you and I can attest, the older that we get, the time goes by so damn fast. And, a year is just a flash in the pan, and you really got to have time to, to give the markets to perform like you want to, and to, for your individual shares to perform like you want to. So opportunities.
Yeah. Always opportunities, right?
Yeah, you bet.
I remember first subscribing to you in 2011. Actually in 2009, and seeing these warrants go up incredible amounts here, Dudley, like 10, 12 times. And this wasn't just one or two of them. It was multiple ones,
Yeah, multiples. Yeah. Now, on the homepage of our website, commonstockwarrants.com, right there on the homepage, I still have, I can't remember, 10, 15, 20 examples of warrants that I actually owned, and the percentage gainers. And so, as you said, there was been some monster gainers that I've been really happy to be involved with. And it's been a couple of years now. It's hard to believe, but there were a couple of lithium companies that just friggin' exploded that were 10 baggers from the warrant standpoint. And I'm not sure exactly where the lithium situation is here today, but there were some incredible home runs to be had. And I'll say it's kind of like, our database is kind of like a revolving door. Every warrant has an expiration date. And so they're all going to expire. But then we've got new warrants that are coming in, virtually every day, every week. And so it is an ebb and flow, and you're just looking as an investor, is there anything in our database that strikes your fancy, that strikes my personal fancy, that says, I got to own this baby? And that's what we can all have different ideas. Now, in the service, I guess I call it the goal service, is that where if somebody wants to see what I'm personally doing, so what is Dudley doing? Okay, so as opposed to just having all the raw data, you can actually see what my positions are with a little explanation of why I'm there and why I've been there through the years and et cetera. But you kind of get a feel of where I'm coming from. And I'm kind of looking for those that are really out of favor, or else I feel like the tide's getting ready to turn at any moment. And again, opportunities, like I said, these three examples that I cited a while ago, they had monster gains, but a lot of those gains have dissipated. And this would be time to say this, that any of these three examples that I just cited that were trading on NASDAQ. Now, my primary account, brokerage account, is with Interactive Brokers. So for me at Interactive Brokers, I can look in the left-hand corner of their order page, and I can see for that given company, are there warrants available that could be shorted? And so all three of the examples that I just cited, if you would have looked and said, holy smokes, these things are so overvalued, it is incredible, I'm going to short them. Well, you would have done incredibly well then putting on the other hat and going to the short side. So it may not be as simple depending on what your individual brokerage account is, but with IB, they make it pretty easy to see the availability of warrants that could be shorted. Now, pretty much with IB, if it's in the mining equation, if it's on the Toronto Exchange or the Toronto Venture Exchange, I would pretty much say that those warrants are not shortable. I would want to, but if you're staying on the NASDAQ or the New York Exchange, it's a different game over there.
Sure.
I don't encourage anybody to go in and start shorting things. It's a high. We know you got to be so damn careful in doing that, because you never know how much higher they can actually go, and really tough game. But yet, I just wanted to I bring this up only to say there is opportunities there. And I have shorted some in the past and done well with that, but you just kind of really got to be cautious and surely be smart enough to have stop losses in any time that you're doing that. But right now, I just, me personally as an investor, yes, we got the service and everything, but I always try to view things in the eyes of, my subscribers and me as an investor myself. What the hell is coming next?
That's a great question. What is coming next here, Dudley? I ask you that very question.
What is next? And I'm thinking as we speak now, these markets, I know it's probably going to be a few days before our interview gets out, and so it'll be interesting if somebody listens to the interview and sees where we're at a few days down the road. But we've just been breaking down really this morning, and we were pretty strong on November the 18th. I can remember this date because this was my dad's birthday, and so this is it's a good time. So he passed years ago, but it's a good date for an interview.
That's a good thing.
So it's just a I could argue both ways. I think we're ready to break down. But the trends have changed, and for us to head down on the financial markets, the tech stocks are so overvalued. They were getting hammered really hard this morning, and it looks like on a chart, we've broken, below the 5-day moving average, below the 20-day moving average, probably now below the 50-day moving average, just over the last few days. It's been a pretty serious plunge. So it appears that we're on the brink of some serious trend changes. And that'll be a matter, can gold hang in for a while, or maybe gold still has one last up move while the financial markets roll over? And, I don't know anybody that's got the Holy Grail to know exactly how this plays out. This is a challenge. I want to say for every investor in the world, I think Rick Rule would agree. He doesn't have the Holy Grail. We've got a vision of the picture and where we think that we are, in time, and what we kind of envision happening. But when it comes down to today's the low, today's the high. I mean, it's we're here as an investor to accumulate positions at reasonable prices. I'm a guy who like to be in as low as I can possibly get.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah, and by just making that statement, a lot of times I get in too early because then they continue to drop down a little bit on you. So it does become a challenge, but I hate for them when they start running, and then for me to buy something that's already gone up 50 to 100% is a real challenge psychologically for me, because I'm the guy that wants to be in at the bottom. I want to be buying it down and to the right, and I want to be about as low as I can possibly get. And that's where you trigger the big percentage gains. But no, these opportunities just change frequently. So it makes it an exciting game for all of us as investors. And so no, I'm just so glad that we had this service now. I think it's
a long time.
Yeah, actually started this in May of 2005. Launched, had the first ad and communication with Bob Moriarty and his late Barbara at 321 Gold, over 25 years, over 20 years ago. And it has been a great journey, and it's evolution, and our database has increased in size just big time by coming into the U.S. market and then coming into all the SPACs, the special purpose acquisition companies, has really expanded our database. But there's something here for, I want to say, every investor to, at least if nothing else, to be aware of. Whether you decide to run out and buy this, you need to know, which companies do have stock warrants trading. It's a good chance if like a lot of our current subscribers, you're going to have multiple subscriptions to other guys' news services, which may or might not even know about stock warrants themselves. And so they may be recommending some really interesting companies, say in the mining space or the crypto space, and may not be aware that there are stock warrants that are trading. And so our service can just be a great supplemental service, a filtering service, if you will, to be aware of what is available out there in the universe. So it's just, it's been a great journey. It's been a great ride as an investor. And the ride is not over. I think, especially in our mining space, our big move is still in front of us. And this may still be, 6 months to a year out before we really start getting our time with the small speculative stocks. But I think it's coming. This is when we'll see little penny stocks just exploding to, I always say, pennies to dollars, and hopefully many dollars. Very similar to examples that I cited there, where we end up with thousands of percents of gains. And they never know the one individual stock or the warrant to buy. And that's why we need a basket. We need X number of different ones that everybody's comfortable with to kind of spread the risk and have multiple potential opportunities right in front of us. So I always love to talk about this. It's so much fun. And, back in the day, you used to do a lot more of all the mining conferences. And I remember, I think it was probably New York many, many years ago, Kerry, when you and I had our first conversation.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah.
All right. Hey, so just tell us where to find you, best place, how to connect with you on the web.
Yeah, no, just commonstockwarrants.com. And you'll see that we've got some freebies available. If you just want to give us your first name, you'll get access to some freebies. My stock warrant handbook, which is so simple, less than 50 pages, and to a couple other really interesting reads through the years. So just give us a visit, commonstockwarrants.com. Love to have you on board, and we're just along for the ride. Okay.
All right, we're all along for the ride. Dudley, can't thank you enough for coming on. And if you got any questions or comments, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. We will get you an answer. Dudley, be well. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.